Hey guys, Kakarot197 again. This time with a review of the old school 1/100 scale full action new Gundam. And according to the manual, this thing is from the Char's Riot movie. But first, a big thank you to Area 7 Pro for giving me this model. And typically speaking, model kits from the 80s and even the 90s to an extent had beautiful artwork on the box that could never be matched by the model kit inside. But back in the day, this was as close as you could get, with its amazing proportions, almost perfect color accuracy, and even some hiding of seam lines. This thing truly was a cut above its contemporaries. Of course, you will need some stickers, and unlike most modern kits, even the stickers for color accuracy come on the marking sticker sheet. We get yellow for the front of the feet, the calves, the front of the legs, the front, side, and back of the side skirts, the fin funnel thrusters, the back of the feet, the back skirt, and the shoulders. One unfortunate thing about them is that underneath the sticker, there's no detail to separate the black and the yellow. Then we get red from the back skirt, white for the backpack, this vent-like sticker, and black for the beam saber rack, front skirts, and shield. One odd thing by today's standards is that we don't get an eye sticker or front and back camera. Instead, the eyes are molded in clear green. And we also get a clear green part for the chest sensor. And with that, your new Gundam is basically 100% color accurate. All that's left to do then is to apply some marking stickers, which may or may not have some English on them. So other than the seam lines, this thing is actually surprisingly presentable for a 1988 model kit. Just make sure to also remove all the flash. Another thing that might be surprising for some is that we get screws to hold some of the parts together. But don't worry, it does come with its own Phillips head screwdriver, so you won't have to hope that your Swiss Army knife has one.
And screw in with confidence, but also don't screw in too hard.
And along with the screwdriver, we also get some nice die-cast parts for the shoulders, the hip, and the legs. And these give the models a really nice, hefty feel. Honestly, this makes me want to put weights in some of my other model kits. But back to this one. Let's have a look at the accessories, starting off with the weapons already on the machine. We get two 60mm Vulcans on the head that are either white or gray, depending on where you look. Then on the backpack, we get a dummy beam saber, but fear not, we get a pair of fully active beam chopsticks. Since it's the 80s, I'll let it slide. We also get a second beam saber that's removed with a really cool sliding mechanism. But again, it is a dummy, and this time there's no beam chopstick to the rescue. So you'll have to get a drill if you want to activate this one. But most importantly, all three beam sabers fit perfectly into the hands. Then for the other accessories, we get a nicely detailed beam rifle that will still require a little bit of white paint. It fits well enough into the articulated hands, although getting the perfect pose can be a bit fiddly. Next up is the new Hyper Bazooka, and while it's pretty colorful already with even red rockets, you'll still have to paint some parts dark blue. What was really surprising was the moving handle that makes it so much easier to pose. This might not sound like a big deal, but believe me, it is. Although the real reason that they implemented this was probably so that you can slide it onto the back for storage. Then we get to the shield with 4 missiles and a rotating handle, and to attach it to the new Gundam, you simply click it onto the left arm. And since it only attaches to the back of the arm, some poses might be a bit more difficult to pull off. And then finally we get the fin funnels, and to know where to place them, they're numbered. To stick them together, we get these polycap pieces, and written onto them is how to exactly attach them. Of course, the funnels are also fully articulated, and to store them on the backpack, you simply slide them on. It's just a shame that the knees can't support them. So you've got 3 options. Use an action base, try strengthening the joints, or simply eliminate the joints altogether. And talking about joints, let's see how articulated this old-timer is. The head is on a simple peg, so it goes up and down nicely and rotates around. Just be careful for the chin. The arms will rotate around and go up about 90 degrees, and surprisingly, they don't rotate around below the shoulder, despite the design, but rotate at the elbow instead. The elbow will also bend about 90 degrees. The hands are also quite interesting. They're on a peg instead of a ball joint as we've gotten used to, and they have some really good up and down movement. They'll also rotate around and have the previously mentioned finger movement. The waist rotates around and rocks a bit forwards and backwards. These thrusters go up and down slightly, and we also get an opening cockpit. Inside we have a nicely detailed pilot, and even the controls have details on them, even though we can no longer see them. And just in case, we also get a second pilot. But back to the articulation. The front skirts are individually molded and give the legs some really good forwards movement, and there we have the side effect of having die-cast parts in the lower legs. So yeah, the knees bend not quite 90 degrees. But on the bright side, the back skirt moves, giving the legs great backwards movement too. Outwards movement is also really good. Then we get a movable thruster flap, and the feet go forwards and backwards nicely and side to side on an angled peg. So while the articulation might not be that impressive by today's standards, it still allows the new Gundam to take some cool poses, and it's actually pretty on par with the first master grades that were released much later in the mid-90s. So as always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And back in 1988, this would have been extremely impressive, but not without its flaws. If it had an action base or something to keep it upright in the box, it would have been perfect. But still, this sleek boy was one of the most impressive kits you could get at that time, and pretty much for a long time afterwards. Even today, it's not completely without a purpose. It's still a cool piece of history, and at 2,500 yen, it's half the price of the master grade and almost a third of the price of the Virgin Kotoki. So if you want a cheap 1/100 scale new Gundam with some retro flair or something to practice painting and seamline removal on, maybe? Although for that price, the technologically superior high-grade Universal Century is probably going to be a much better option. The smaller size and lower weight is really the only drawback. Then for some more size comparisons, first of all, here is next to the no-grade Zaku Warrior and the old Master Grade Jim 1.0. And looking at the seam lines on these kits, I'd say they did a pretty good job with the new Gundam. And then finally, here he is next to the modern Master Grade Jagan and the older Master Grade RX-78-2 Virgin Kotoki. And just look at the size difference between these kits, and that is without the new Gundam's fin funnels. So that's all for this review on this massive old model kit. Again, thanks to Area 7 Pro for sending this to me, and as always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope all of you watching have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.